Hi everyone, this is Miss Jessica from Aftercare and from Camp Sunburst at Somerville YMCA, and I am here just to say hello and to check in with you guys. I hope that you're doing well and are staying safe and healthy, and I'm also here to show you a arts and crafts project and a little STEM activity that you guys can do when you're at home. So what we're going to be making today is this origami boat, and I know my friends at Somerville Aftercare love origami, so this is right up your alley. So we're going to construct our boat, and then we're going to put it to the test to see if it floats, to see what it can hold inside. So it'll be super fun, and I hope that you guys will join me. You don't need much to do this activity. The only thing that you'll need is a piece of paper. I'm going to be using just a single piece of computer paper, 8.5 by 11. You can use construction paper. You can use any paper you have at home. The only other thing you'll need for this portion is your hands that are hopefully nice and clean and washed. So I am going to point my camera down and kind of walk you through step by step how to make the boat, and then we'll test it out.
Alright, so we're going to get started with folding and creating our boat. So I am getting my white piece of paper ready. So I put it on a flat surface, and right now I'm going to fold my piece of paper in half. So I'm going to take the right side, bring it over to the left side, and I'm going to line it up just like that. And then I'm going to hold it with one hand, push down on the other end, and slide my finger up and down to make a nice tight seam. So it should look like that. Then the next thing we're going to do is bring the bottom up to the top. So you're going to take the bottom and you're going to fold it over to the top, line up the lines there, the edges, and then do the same thing. Press down with your finger to make our nice tight seam. So you should end up with a piece of paper like this. Then you're going to open it up, and you can see my fingers are touching those little flaps. You want to make sure that the flaps are away from you to do the next step. So your flaps are away, so the next thing we're going to do is take those two corners and put them towards the middle. So I'm going to start with that corner first, and you're going to bring it to meet the middle seam to make a little triangle. I'm going to hold it down, and then you're going to use your finger to make a nice triangle seam. And then you're going to do the same thing for the other side. So you're going to take your other flap, you're going to make a nice point there in the middle. Notice how there's a nice point at the top there, and then you're going to run your finger down to make your seam. So then it should look something like this. So now the next thing that you're going to do is you're going to take one of those top flaps that I was playing with earlier, and we're going to fold that over the top of our little triangles we just made. So you're going to take your top flap, fold it over as far as you can, and then run your fingers along to make your seam. So it kind of looks like a little hat almost. So it should look like that. And then we're going to flip it over. And before we do that step again, we're going to fold our little floppy ears here. And we're going to fold them over onto the front. So I'm going to take my first floppy ear, and I'm going to fold it over, and then run my finger along to make our seam. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. Fold over your floppy ear so it's going on top. Then we're going to do the same with the bottom two corners and make some more little flappy ears. So this part is a little tricky. So you're going to take your bottom corner and you're going to fold it to meet that middle line and make a nice point, just like that. And then run your finger along to make your seam. And then you're going to do the same thing on the other side. So fold it over, make your point, and then make your seam. So it should look like that with two little ears on each side. Now we're going to fold that bottom flap over, just like we did on the other side. So you're going to fold it up and then make your nice tight seam. Perfect. So now you have something that looks like this. Then you're going to open it up from the bottom, and it kind of looks like a little hat. So if you did want to stop here and make it a hat, you certainly can. You can decorate it, you can add a string to it and make a Peter Pan type of hat. But we're going to keep going, and you can see I'm kind of making a little beak by kind of folding it just like that. So you're going to flatten your beak there, and then I'm just going around the sides and just pushing down on the seams again just to make sure that they're tight. And then you'll end up with a diamond shape, kind of like this. And you can see there's my little beak, and you want to make sure that your beak is facing you. So put it down on the table with the beak facing you. Then we're going to tape our top triangle on the beak, and we're going to fold it up to meet the other side, the other triangle. and then you're going to run your fingers along and make your seam. And then we're going to turn it over and we're going to do the same thing. So bring the bottom beak, fold it up to the top, just like that, and then make your seam. So now you're left with this triangle shape, and now you have 3 little beaks here. This is what you should end up with. So now what you're going to do is open it up at the bottom again and make another little beak. And we're just going to do the same thing. So we're going to flatten our beak, just like that. And then I'm going to go along and just tighten up those seams on the sides. Now you're going to turn it so your beak is facing away from you. So your beak should be facing away. And I'm just double checking all of the seams here. And then you're going to turn it around so your beak is facing away. And I am pulling off those 2 little flaps at the top. You should be able to open them up. They may be a little tight, so you might have to wiggle it a little bit. And then I pulled them out to the side. And this will be our boat shape. So you may have to do what I'm doing and kind of mess around with the paper a little bit. You can, fold it up a little bit more and kind of manipulate the sides a little bit to get it just how you would like. But this is what the final boat shape should look like. It should have those 2 ends and then the little sail right in the middle. So I'm going to take my camera down just to kind of show you from the front that this is what our boat should look like. Ahoy!
Okay, so the final part of our arts and crafts and STEM challenge is to test out our boats that we made and see if they float, and see what we can add to it and if that affects anything. So I have my 2 boats that I made here, and the only other things that you'll need is a bowl or a container full of water, as long as it's large enough to fit your boat comfortably in. And then you want to find some little materials or objects that you want to put inside your boat to test it out. So I have a bobby pin, I have some paper clips, I have some binder clips, and then I have a Minnie Mouse here to really throw it over the top. So I'm going to start by just placing my boat inside the water and see what happens. So I'm going to put it inside. And it looks like it's still floating. I do see around the inside that the paper is definitely getting saturated with water. But it looks like we're still doing good. I'm going to push it over a little more this way. So no real difference in the saturation that I see on the inside. It's not filling up with water or anything, so I think it's doing pretty good. All right, so now I'm going to start adding some objects and see if that affects anything with the boat. So I'm going to add my 1 bobby pin first, right just into the middle. Okay, and it looks like we're still doing good. Nothing is sinking. I don't see any extra water on the inside, so it looks like we're still good to go. So I'm going to add 2 of these smaller little mini binder clips. So these are a little bit heavier than the bobby pin, and there's 2 of them, so we'll see what happens. So I'm going to put 1 on one side of my sail and 1 on the other side. Okay. All right, so still nothing is really affected. I don't see really any more water on the inside than what was there before. So I think we're still good to go. Right, now is when it's going to get interesting. So now I'm going to put in a large binder clip and see what happens. There's still nothing happening. So everything is kind of right here so that you can see it. And by doing that, I just sunk my boat. All right, so that has sank. So I'm going to get my second boat and put it on top of the water. So make sure you don't do what I did and don't bend it over sideways. All right, this one looks like it's floating pretty good, so I'm gonna do one last challenge, and that is with my friend Minnie here. Wish her luck, she's going in. All right, have fun, my friend. I'm trying to put her on in a good way. Oh man. All right. So there she is. The weight of Minnie Mouse's body has kind of sunk in this side of the boat. The lighter end of Minnie is keeping this other end up in the air, but it looks like for the most part, she's going down. So why did this happen? Why did my paper boats float when they were on their own and when they had the small objects inside, but they sank as soon as I put my friend inside here? Well, there's a couple different reasons. The first thing we need to consider is the object buoyant? So buoyancy is basically if something will sink or float. So something that's light, like a feather or a piece of paper, putting it in water, it'll end up floating. So that means it's very buoyant. Something really heavy like a rock will sink right to the bottom. So it's not very buoyant. So I have my buoyant boats here. So why is this still a question? So we also have to consider something called density. And density is the amount of mass or stuff inside an object compared to its volume or its space. So when I put the small objects inside of the boat, that wasn't a lot of stuff. It was only a small little items, and they were put inside a pretty large boat. So the density was pretty small, which is why my boat was still able to float. Minnie Mouse, on the other hand, if you take a look at her, there's a lot of stuff inside her. And when you put her on top of that smaller size boat, the boat had a lot of stuff inside, so it had a lot of mass compared to its volume or its size. So since it had a lot of mass, it was very dense, and it ended up sinking to the bottom of the ocean. So that is why my boats were able to float and why my one at the end ended up sinking. So I hope that you guys had a great time with this little activity. I would love to hear how it went for you, what kind of objects you put in, if you used a different kind of paper. Does that affect anything? Maybe construction paper is a little bit heavier than this paper. Give it a try and let me know. Please email me at jnicewitz@gscymca.org to hear all about it. Thanks, guys, and have a great day.